Well, hello, and welcome to the 10th Into the Deckers.
Yep, Into the Deckers
episode of the SolarQuotes Vodcast. How are you, Ronald?
I'm feeling very decadent today.
Nice pun.
Well, that's because I only have 10 teeth, you see.
I'm not all here at the moment. I didn't get much sleep.
Oh, neither did I, but that makes me more talkative.
Probably for different reasons.
Oh, okay. Yes.
I was at
You're not as single, are you? Like I am.
I was surrounded by 40 11-year-old boys last night in tents in a campsite.
That sounds intense, yeah.
Should we jump into it?
Definitely, let's go.
Boom. First blog post we're going to talk about is one that I wrote. It didn't take me long to write it, actually. Fact-checking an SA government press release spruiking their battery subsidy.
Did you find any facts?
2.
Ooh,
Three.
Oh.
3 out of 13.
3 out of 13.
Not bad for government.
Yeah, that's like pretty good.
One was the date, that was correct.
Mm-hmm.
One was the minister's name,
Yep.
that was correct. And one was that batteries charge up into the day by day and discharge by night if they are a solar battery. So that was correct.
Wow, okay, that's pretty awful. There's a thing called truth hygiene. When you're in a position of power like this, you're expected to do a bit of homework, or have someone do the homework for you and tell you what's right and what's wrong.
So the reason I wrote this, I just had to. My wife Chantel, she SMS'd me a, people still say SMS?
I do.
Sent me a picture of a newspaper article based on this press release, and the newspaper article, I was like, well, that's wrong. So I looked up the press release, and then I read the press release from this isn't a press release from the SA government, obviously spruiking their battery subsidy, and it was just, wow, that's misleading, that's wrong, that's misleading. Essentially, they were misleading people into believing that home batteries would reduce the carbon footprint of your home, which they may do in the future. They don't at the moment.
Yeah, we don't produce not enough renewable energy goes to waste yet for them to be an environmental plus.
Yes. So there's that. But the main thing was that they're implying that people are getting $0 bills with batteries. Batteries will save you money. Go out and buy a battery to save you money. Don't buy a battery if you want to save money. Buy a battery if you want to support the battery installers, the battery installation industry, by all means, the battery, home battery hardware development. You're supporting all that by giving them good practice. Buy a battery if you genuinely think you're taking load off the grid. That's arguable if it's a home battery, but all those, I salute you for buying a battery if you've got one of those. Be like me, buy a battery because you're curious and you got a good deal. But people are generally, funds are limited, and it's not okay to mislead people about savings to get them to use up your battery subsidy, which at current figures from the government's own figures is going to take current run rate, 15 years
minimum
to run out.
Sorry, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, no, sorry, we're not talking about payback, we're talking about them spending all 40,000 subsidies. So.
Yes. So what should people do? What would they be better off doing than buying a battery?
What, with $10,000, $15,000?
Yeah.
Buying an e-bike. Cutting down on their car emissions.
Yes.
Putting it in the bank towards an electric car.
Yeah, or just putting more solar on your roof.
If they're allowed to.
On your grandmother's roof.
Yes.
Yeah. If you're just interested in helping the environment, more solar is about the best thing you can do. You can also buy an electric car. That's also neat.
The argument there is the grid can't handle much more solar.
It can. And the more solar we put on, the more rapidly we'll get rid of the coal power stations.
That is a good thing.
Coal power kills people.
Yes, I agree. I agree. I think it does make the grid harder to manage. It's harder to manage a grid with a higher penetration of renewables, but it's not impossible, and we have to do it.
Yeah.
And this kind of forces the energy market, the AEMC and the AEMO, I suppose, who should be making these decisions, to accelerate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it is a good thing, because we have to do it anyway. The problem is that the grid's getting managed by press release.
Yeah.
Instead of by engineers and operators sitting down and working out what needs to be done.
Yes. Or it's not even being managed by market forces properly anymore. because
It's managed by politicians standing up, doing good politics and nice sounding press releases like battery subsidies.
With the subsidy, if your situation is right and the battery is right, you can save money installing a battery with the subsidy.
Yes.
But don't go into it blind. You've got to do your thumbs. You've got to check. You've got to make sure it will help you. Don't believe the press releases.
Yeah, you've got to make sure you're going to drain the battery almost every single night, which most people won't.
Yes. The poorer you are, the less likely you are to save money from a battery, because you'll be using less power than someone who has $1 million home.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, these days, someone has a $10 million home. Anyway.
Next blog post.
Oh, hydropower, pumped hydro.
Australia's pumped hydro prospects destroy wind and solar arguments. You can talk about this one, Ronald.
Okay, so the cheapest sources of new energy are solar power. The very cheapest is solar power, which is distributed, that is on your roof, and then solar farms and wind farms. So these produce low-cost energy. The wind doesn't blow all the time. The sun doesn't shine all the time. Let's get that out of the way.
Oh, shit, yeah.
So you need some source of dispatchable energy. At the moment, our dispatchable energy is hydro, gas, and coal is a shoddy form of dispatchable energy. It's not as good as hydro or gas for firming the grid. Anyway, so hydro is great for providing power when you need it, when you want it. So pumped hydro, they're going to build more of it. So in the evening, there's a high demand for electricity, sunset, maybe there's not a lot of wind. So they let the water sluice through the generators, generate power. Then you've got the water at a lower level. Well, maybe at 3 a.m. in the morning, there's lots of wind power. Use that extra energy, pump the water back up, and you use it when you need it later.
So what was this post saying about it destroying wind and solar arguments?
Okay, so some people argue that you can't build wind and solar because there'll be no energy when we need it most in the evening, etc., etc. So you just use the pumped hydro. You don't have to just use pumped hydro. There are plenty of other options.
So I mean, they're actively building quite a handful of these, aren't they?
Yes, they're building a couple at the moment under construction, and they're looking into building quite a few more. And there's plenty of sites. There's no shortage of sites. There's just some sites are better than others.
Can I bring up a couple of objections from the comments?
Sure.
Water's precious.
This is pumped hydro using the same water again and again.
But it evaporates.
Then, yeah, but water is A, cheap, or B, in one near Port Pirie, which is very dry, they're going to put a cover on top to stop the evaporation, like a pool cover.
A big pool cover.
Yeah.
Made out of bubble wrap.
Yes. Some plans will use seawater, and seawater is...
one of the commenters said, aha, seawater, that rusts things.
Yeah, but we've had quite a few years of experience with seawater, and we're fully aware of its corrosive properties. So the first tidal mill was built around 1,500 years ago. So that's
out of wood.
Yes, out of wood. I presume. I wasn't there. I was in another continent at the time, and Dutch people have been pumping seawater for a long time. We got a good handle on it.
Yeah, I think the gentleman in the comments that suggested that people hadn't thought through the fact that seawater corrodes steel. They've thought that through, and they've been pumping seawater with metal for at least a century.
But it's a reasonable concern.
Yep, it makes it more.
Yeah,
you got to take it into consideration, but that's not a showstopper. I promise you.
No, definitely not. Now we won't just use pumped hydro. We have batteries will be used. Solar thermal. They're building a solar thermal concentrating solar power station.
Do you think that's going to work?
Yeah, it will work.
The one in Nevada is not doing great.
Isn't it?
Nah.
Not familiar.
Shut down for I think 8 months, and it's running at way less than 40% of what they thought it would run at.
Oh, okay.
They're having a lot of issues with it.
All right, but there are multiple ones in the world, so
I don't think We'll find out if I'm wrong, because this will be on YouTube forever. I don't think that's ever going to get built. The Port Augusta solar thermal.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
What do you think?
I thought they had made the decision to go ahead.
I bet you a wireless mouse it doesn't get built.
All right, you're on.
Cool.
They're like $6 at Officeworks, right?
This is an Apple one. This is about $150, mate. Sorry, it's a black Apple one.
Was not specified.
They charge you $30 extra for a black one over a white one. One more thing I'll pick you up on there, Ronald.
Yep.
Dispatchable power is different to firmed.
Yeah.
I mean, a coal plant is dispatchable. You can say, right, I need some base load for the next 3 weeks. And you ramp it up very, very slowly and it sits there, and that's dispatchable. And firming is where you can ramp it up and down quickly to match the gaps left by renewables.
Yeah.
Cool. Should we move on?
Yes.
Oh, our regular segment, best and worst reviews of the week. The best review, as chosen by Ned, who is sitting over there, is from Cosco Energy Group. They're a SolarQuotes client. And the reviewer says, Sam, the sales fellow, seemed initially as if he might be one of those flim-flam, blah, blah, blah sales reps.
Oh, no.
There's a few of those around. He proved me wrong. He seemed to be available at all hours of the night and day and bred confidence with each passing contact. I use email, so everything's in writing. Good idea. He responded to each email honestly and promptly. Moreover, he was across the subject. To be fair, all 3 organisations with whom I dealt, this gentleman got 3 quotes through SolarQuotes, answered all my emails promptly, fairly, and each prospective installer's sales folk were across the subject and prepared to talk turkey. And then, then he goes on to say that he had a really good installation, and it all went very well. So well done, Cosco Energy Group.
Excellent.
Should we do the worst review of the week?
Yeah. Let's hear it.
Ooh, okay.
It's about you again this time.
No, I dodged the bullet there.
Oh, good.
This is from a company called Solar Service Group, which regular solar industry people will be aware of. Customer service initially started out very well. However, the information given to me was misleading. The salesperson said my battery could hold 2 charges. She kept repeating this over and over, so when I questioned her about it, she said it would literally store up to 2 full charges, therefore effectively turning my 2.9 kilowatt hour battery into a 5.8 kilowatt hour battery. This was the reason I signed on. When I asked the electrician about this, someone who actually understood electricity, he said it was 100% not the case, because it is 100% not the case. Now, you can, in theory, you can in practice charge a battery, cycle a battery twice in one day. Very hard to do with sun.
Yes.
Easier to do it the smaller the battery is, but it's still hard if you think about the situation where you might be draining a battery in the middle of the day when it's a nice sunny day and you've got the nice solar curve. If it's a really cloudy day and it's really spiky, that could happen on a really small battery, but it's going to be very rare.
Yeah.
But that's not what they were telling him. They were saying that this battery could magically hold twice its storage capacity.
Yeah, no one uses their battery that way.
So
Just
moving on.
happen.
When signing up, I discussed my power bills with the salesperson as I thought that the battery wouldn't be big enough to supply me with electricity through the night. A typical house probably gets through an efficient 5 or 6 kilowatt hours over sunset to sunrise.
That's a typical house,
I reckon. So 5.8 would be a good size.
Yeah,
but he only had a 2.
For most households.
Wouldn't be big enough to supply me with electricity throughout the night. Again, she referred to this 2 charges thing and said it should be enough for me to power through the night. No surprises. As it turns out, the battery definitely does not get me through the night. Yeah.
So it would just flatten itself and then magically
you could
filled up with solar energy again in the evening and then release it again. No, that's not going to happen.
You could charge it up with off-peak energy.
You could,
but then you'd be discharging into the off-peak as well. So
and he'll be in bed when the off-peak period happens if he's on a time of use tariff. That's no good to him.
It seems to me like this gentleman has been promised something and delivered something that doesn't keep to the promise. What should he do?
You go to you contact the Consumer Affairs Bureau in your state. You tell them the problem. You tell them that you did not receive what you were promised, and they either have to give you what they said, or remove the whole thing and give you your money back.
Yeah, they from what from your side of the story, you've been missold. I would say you're entitled to a refund.
Yeah, definitely.
And I personally would push for a refund.
Again, I'm not a lawyer, but yeah, you did not get what you were told you would.
Hit up your local consumer affairs and push for a refund. Yeah, you'd be in a very strong position. I'll be very surprised if you don't get one. And I'm sorry to hear these guys treated you that way. Yeah. Moving on. What we got next? Oh, computer's a bit slow today.
Oh well. I'll entertain people while we wait for it to move on.
Maybe you can sing "It's Not Easy Being Green."
Yes,
with Kermit.
Yeah.
Oh, too late. Australia's solar waste problem underestimated.
Yes, so there's a hell of a lot of solar panels have been installed, and not all of them have been long-lasting and reliable. It's a tragedy.
A lot of crap's been installed over the last 10 years.
Yeah. So these are ending up in landfills. There's one recycling company in Australia which recycles panels I'm aware of.
Reclaim PV. I rang them up a while back, just doing some research, because the ABC asked me, I think, about recycling. And the information I got then was that it costs $30 a panel to recycle at low volume.
That's the going rate. So
should we put a levy on every solar panel, say $5, and then set up facilities that will recycle solar panels for free?
That sounds like a very good idea, but I will say solar panels are pretty benign, pretty harmless in a landfill compared to this thing behind me, this big screen TV, and people go through one of these, like they'll have 2 or 3 of them in their house, and they'll go through one every few years. It's that is a much bigger e-waste problem.
Yeah.
But the basic idea, you put, when you buy something, there's a small charge there which covers its recycling and proper disposal. So that is a good idea. They have that in quite a few other countries. Some countries, they do it poorly, but we don't have to copy the poor ones.
Next blog post. Thermal battery unveiled in South Australia. So this is a battery, it's actually a very old idea.
Yep.
You store renewables in the form of heat, because if you stick electricity through something, well, resistive or a heat pump, you generate heat, and then you use that heat to drive a heat engine, which might be a turbine, might be a Stirling engine, or something else even more wacky, and you produce electricity when you on demand.
Yes.
Yeah, a very old idea. Some new, interesting ways to do that.
Yes. This will use silicon. They melt it, so it goes to 1,414 degrees, and it's easy to remember because one of the companies is named after that number.
1414.
Yes. And they rely on the phase change between the molten and solid state. So it will stay at that temperature while releasing thermal energy. And at that high temperature, the Carnot efficiency will be up to, say, 82%.
Plain English?
Heat energy gets converted into electrical energy at a maximum of 82% efficiency. In real life, it's not going to be that high overall.
Yeah, I'm skeptical. I think generally where you have complicated mechanical stuff going on, it gets superseded very quickly by low-cost solid-state stuff.
Oh, well, they have a solid-state version.
But it's always going to have a heat engine.
No, this is freaky weird.
Oh, you mean like thermoelectric?
What they do is this molten silicon glows brightly, and they use solar cells to get the to convert energy into electricity. No, I don't know which company does it. I can't remember.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, the efficiency would be low.
The efficiency would be low.
But
and you've got to contain something at 14 degrees.
Yeah, but that's not too difficult. Dig a hole, insulate it well. I'm sure it's simple. I mean, there are engineers tearing their hairs out hearing me say this. I'm sure it's simple. How difficult could it be? Yeah.
My money's on lithium ion.
But if I can get the cost down,
good on them. They should try.
One thing, they're not going to be building it in 5 kilowatt of output. That's not practical, I think. Yeah.
Especially in a heat wave. You probably don't want one of these in your garage.
No, a microgrid and a utility scale or an island or something, yeah. But nah. Not in grass.
Okay, last post of the week, written by yourself, Ronald.
Yes.
Now, I thought you were going to write a post about perk panels, but you you really wanted to write this one.
Oh, yes, probably. I thought it needed to be said. So, in Victoria, they have a rebate for solar, rooftop solar on households. So, solar is going hot, lots of people installing solar. To get this rebate, it's now going to be mandatory, effectively mandatory, that you have to be an approved solar retailer. This is bad for several reasons. One of them, major one, being that people who've not done anything wrong are going to be forced out of business because either they can't become an approved solar retailer or it's not worth it to them and they don't want to do the bother. And some people are taking the viewpoint, well, if you're against this, then you're not going to get rid of the shonks in the solar installation business. No, that's not true. I'm against this.
Totally a false choice.
Yes.
That's just...
Yeah, I'm against this because it's a shitty way to get rid of shonks. It gets rid of people who are the opposite of shonks, who do good work.
So just clarify something, you're not pro-shonk?
No, I'm not pro-shonk.
Good.
In Victoria, they inspect every single solar system that's installed. Every one. It's not a thorough inspection like the Clean Energy Regulator does, but they could instead inspect 1 in 3 and put the resources they save into doing a thorough inspection. And then kick out anyone whose work is shoddy. And you wouldn't be getting rid of people who do good work that way. You'd only be focusing on the people whose work is crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, you shouldn't be it's like a collective punishment. Some people are bad, so we're going to punish a heap of people, some of whom are good. It's not fair. My object so sublime, I think that you will find, is the punishment should fit the crime. The punishment fit the crime.
Is that Dr. Seuss?
That is Gilbert and Sullivan, and I no doubt got it wrong.
I think, what can I say? You can tell this wasn't designed by engineers because they haven't got to the root cause. They're just putting band-aids on.
Yep.
One of the biggest problems in retailing systems is something goes wrong with a system or it doesn't work and then they don't support the customer to get it fixed. Well, the root cause of that is a shit installation.
Yeah.
That's it. But they're not fixing the shit installations. They're just making sure that if they do put in a shit installation, they go back and fix it. It's technocrat solution. It's interesting, you look on the forums, the guys that get it, they're going, no, solve the root cause. I mean, first law of systems engineering, find the root cause and solve that instead of putting band-aid on band-aid, rule on rule. I'm kind of sick and tired of this subject now, but the one thing I think, there's a lot of reasons this is wrong, and we, you can go backwards and forwards saying this, blah, blah, backwards and forwards. I've never had anyone address, never mind defend, the central point for me, which is it's fundamentally dishonest to sell this scheme as voluntary to the government, to the ACCC, to the solar industry, to the public, and then make it mandatory. In Victoria, soon, I imagine the rest of the country. That's the fund. I think if we just focus on that, come on, address that, defend that, it's indefensible.
Yeah. I think it's indefensible that, people losing their jobs. They will lose their jobs over this, and they've done nothing wrong. It's just not on.
I could say a lot more, but I won't.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say?
If they're a political party, I wouldn't vote for the Clean Energy Council because this action is callous.
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 Well, this afternoon I shall be providing evidence to a government body who are investigating a approved solar retailer for breaking the law. So that's what I'm doing. What are you doing this afternoon?
I'm going to watch a movie with my significant other. Have you